It down. All right, so take this wheel out. I want you to write it down because you're going to practice it. All right, and my prayer is that you keep practicing this every week with each other. So the first part of the sensing is that you're always going to look at your spouse and say, "I see you," or "Terry, I hear you." And that's it. Some of you like to say, "I hear you say blah, 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 blah." No, don't say that. Just say, "I hear you." Acknowledge what they're saying. What's that? Period. Period. Here, let me help you out there. Period. Okay, very good, good. Okay, so we want, "I hear you." Has anybody ever wanted to hear that in your marriage when you're having a discussion? It's like,
Yes.
oh, you do? Oh, cool.
Sometimes he'll just say, Terry, like if it's just calm and he sees me frantic, so I'll start to get frantic around the house, and I'm like starting 20 things because I'm starting to get ramped up, because I'm anxious because of fear. He'll just stop me and put it down and just Terry, and he'll just make me cry. Because I'm like, you see me? I can't even see myself right now. So sometimes it's great to just say, and I like it to say the spouse's name. Terry, I see you. James, I see you.
So what I do is a sentence, and I say, "Terry, I see you." It's just using the frantic, okay? Because I see you. And then this box here is your thinking. You got to express what you're thinking in your brain. All right, so I would look at her, she's running around, sometimes she gets in this phase where she'll start 10 different things at one time around the house, and I'm like, I like it. One thing done, go to the next thing, get the next thing done. She's 10 things. So I look at her and say, "Terry, I see you, and I'm thinking that you're overwhelmed, and you have a lot on your plate." I'm thinking. It always starts with, "I'm thinking," and the words that you're always going to use is that. You're going to describe something in here, what's going on in them. "I'm thinking that you're very overwhelmed." Does that make sense?
Yeah. You can also use this to advocate for yourself as well. James, I see you, and I'm thinking that what you said to me wasn't what you were intending. Okay, does that make sense? Or James, I see you, I'm thinking that you might not know that what you said impacted you the way it did. Does that make sense? So I can advocate for myself, and I can also express what I'm kind of vulnerably or empathically seeing you do. We're really not using this to drive home some kind of like ulterior motive. You know, we're really trying to get to a goal, a good goal.
Yeah, but the key here is like we need to learn how to communicate to connect. See, a lot of times we use communication to instruct, communication to correct, communication to inform. But what we want to do in your marriages is learning how to communicate to connect. You might not solve your problem that you're facing, but what you're doing is you're going to come to a point of connection in the problem. Then you can go deal with the problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? So it's really important.
Do you have a question?
It's like you're taking the accusations out of the thing,
Yes.
The equation.
so that you can express how you feel without there being some excuse or the other person saying, "Well, you shouldn't feel like that."
Well, let's go to the feeling part, okay? Because this feeling box is really important because this is the hardest one for a lot of people. Is what you're going to say is, "Terry, I see you, and I'm thinking that you have a lot on your plate right now and you feel overwhelmed. I feel," this is all you say, "I feel," and you choose a feeling. "I feel sad." I leave it at that. I don't feel sad because you feel overwhelmed. Period. I don't feel sad because you feel overwhelmed. I don't feel sad because I see your hair going out like this. I feel sad. I leave it open-ended there because I want this to be a discovery together. If I say I feel sad because of X, Y, and Z, then I've already just told her what is going on and how I want her to fix herself. Okay? So what I'm saying is I feel sad.
Which at point I usually start crying. And I'm like, you feel bad for me? It makes you feel good. You're like, oh, somebody cares. Somebody cares, you
Yeah,
know?
and now,
It doesn't,
when I-
sometimes it takes a few like times around.
so in the feeling box, it's one word, or description. I feel, and then put the word, and put a period on it. If the other person starts saying, I feel sad because you know what, you're out of control, and man, you look horrible, and you know, this, what does that do to the person?
Then we have to go like this.
Time out.
Time out.
Time out.
This isn't how the wheel works.
Nope, and we
So
gotta come back
We
to
might
this.
need to come back, right? Or the person goes, oh, I'm sorry. I feel, right? So we stick to the script. Stick to the script, honey. If not, we'll take a time out. You go, go
Take
run
10
around the
minute, 15
block
minute
or
break.
whatever and all, you know.
So feeling box. Then you come to the request box, and the request is this. So I say, Terry, I see you. And I'm thinking that you feel very overwhelmed by all that you're doing right now and all that you have. I feel sad. I request that you pause and open up to me and allow me to help. Then we go into this point of response. So now I hand the baton to Terry, and Terry's turn. She gets to go and say, and she gets to go through the wheel with me.
Okay, so then I would say, James, I hear you. And I'm thinking that I'm gonna make it a little, I'm gonna friction it a little. I like that. Okay. And then if I said like, I hear you and, yeah, exactly, like, if I do that, it's gonna be too easy. I'm gonna do it like I would normally do if I was being frantic, right? Okay, because sometimes when I'm frantic, it's like, I know in my brain I'm being frantic, but I don't really want him telling me that sometimes. You know, it feels nice for him to acknowledge it. Yeah, but I'm gonna make a little friction. So I'm gonna say, James, I hear you. And I'm thinking that you don't understand how hard it is for me with the kids. I feel frustrated. I request that you try to understand what it is that I'm doing on a daily basis.
Terry, I hear you. And I'm thinking that I'm not attuning with you well. And that I don't understand all of your needs. And I feel disconnected. And I request that you bring me along in that so that I have some clarity on what you're hearing.
So then I just take a deep breath, because I need to. Because I stop breathing. For some reason, when when stuff comes up, I stop breathing. James, I hear you. And I'm thinking that it's starting to feel good. Oh, and it's starting to, see, I just went off the script. That's starting to help me. And I feel hopeful. I request that you sit with me in this for a minute. I'm not quite there.
And I would go straight into it. Terry, I hear you. And I'm thinking that this is the best thing for us. And it's okay. I request that we put aside the activities right now and we just connect with each other. And then we're in chores over there.
At that point, I go, my ears go, say me.
Happy dance, happy dance. Oh, the period.
Okay, now, is that, I know that you might think, guy, that's just too simple. It is simple.
scripted.
But here's the deal. If you stick, now, who's been married more than 10 years? Okay, what are you thinking? Is this real?
Yeah, next to argument, debrief with it. See,
Yeah.
just try it.
Okay, question, yeah.
So is there a practical amount of times you should circle this wheel? Say, okay, we tried, we've done it.
You will
He's
mutually
at
feel
five.
understand.
Five.
Oh, yeah. You will mutually understand.
He's very wordsy, so
See the limit.
Well, and that's a great, I can't give you a number how many times, you're gonna know. Because here's what we wanna do, remember, we want to communicate to connect. When we
So
feel
once you're there-
connected, did you see how we connected? It's like, oh, I feel connected with you, oh, you feel connected with me. Now, we didn't solve our problem.
Right.
The stuff still needs to get done. You know, we gotta get the stuff done around the house, but we're connected.
Yeah, and it might
That
be,
makes sense.
it might be that if like one of you feels like you kind of want to keep going and the other is kind of done, sometimes you can just say, hey, you know, let's continue it later, or, you know, or we'll stop the wheel for a second, just put the wheel down, and I'll say to James, how are you experiencing this? Like, are you okay? Like, are we good? And he'll say, yeah, I think I am. I think I'm good. Or he'll say, you mind if we go around one more time, or something. Oh, okay, you know. I gotta go pick up Grace at 3 o'clock, you know?
You got time limit on this. Yeah, but that's a reality. Because
Yeah.
we live this life. Yeah. Okay.
So, if we can rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
And take it back to where, now it's your time to respond to what he said.
Okay, so right here.
I hear you, I see you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm thinking that, and about that I feel sad. And
That's your
my-
feelings, you're down here.
About that I feel sad. And I come back with my response is, well, I
Why do you
don't
feel sad?
think you heard me at all. Because if you heard me, you wouldn't feel sad. If you truly heard me.
Is this happening?
I need clarification, so I'm gonna ask for clarification, because I like what you're saying. When you say that, are you saying that like, okay, so you're not understanding why he's sad, because does that hurt you when he's sad?
So maybe, just maybe, he used a word that didn't really mean what he intended for it to mean.
Okay, okay.
Right? And so my interpretation of that was completely different than what he intended it to
Right.
be.
Okay,
So there was
That's
a
really good.
communication.
so then you may have to go back around and ask for some clarification here, because here's the deal. And I might be, because I don't know the situation, so I'm gonna extrapolate.
There's no situation, as an example.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't know the situation. So what I am saying is that it's really hard sometimes for some of us to experience our spouse's feelings. But here's the thing about feelings. They are not good nor bad, they are. They're feelings.
Right.
So, okay, when I had a lot of shame in my life, and James had a lot of shame in his life, I could not handle him feeling sad. I would do everything I could to fix it. It didn't matter what the sadness was connected to. It could be connected to me, it could be connected to the dog, it could be connected to the church, whatever. What? No, you're not sad. No, everything's good. Yeah, you know, we're fixing it. So what I've learned is that I have to allow him to feel sad, even if it's a misinterpretation. I can still bring clarification, like, you know, I can go back through, I hear you. I'm thinking that maybe you didn't hear what I said. I feel maybe confused. I request that you clarify. So then you go back again, and then if he clarifies and says, hey, I'm thinking that I really do, I am really experiencing this. I am feeling sad. I request that you understand that that's how much I love you. And that's how much you're being stressed out or upset. It makes me sad. Does that make sense?
Yes. It
Yeah.
does. I think I was looking for where do
Yeah.
we fit in through that the need to truly feel validated.
Right, okay.
That's I'm gonna be honest, as you work through it, validation comes.
Yeah,
But
as you keep going through.
as you do, the connection is, sometimes you're not gonna walk away feeling like your role or what you're doing is validated. Because Terry, she's frantic, she's doing all these things.
But you can request validation.
You can ask for it,
Yeah.
if you want the connection with her, with one another. So my goal in this is honestly, because there's been such great disconnect, in our marriage in the past. Our goal is to be connected with one another. Has anybody ever had that disconnect? Like, this is like a living hell. Is that all right to say that? It's like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be disconnected. And so what we want to see is our relationship really become connected in our communication in this process. So this is not, when you look at this, it's a process. Okay? We might look at it as a formula, but it's a process. All right? And I want you guys to be able to be free to work through that process ongoing. And there's times you're saying, this isn't working. And you have to call a timeout. Okay? Timeouts always have a beginning, and timeouts always have an end. Timeouts aren't indefinite. Sometimes we say timeout and you never come back to it. We've got to come back to it at the end of the timeout. And a lot of times we'll say is, we're going to take a timeout, in 1 hour we're coming back. In 1 hour coming back, yeah.
And if you keep hitting something on the wheel over and over and over and over again, then it's really good to be able to say, let's connect with the fact that maybe one or both of us need something.
Need help.
Right? There's something that keeps coming up that's making me feel certain things. So then I have to be responsible enough to do my work. Like, I gotta work on that 12-year-old exile. I've gotta work on this issue in my life so that I can be honest and you know, continue to grow. So does that make sense? It's like, this helps to kind of bring up to the surface some of the things that we might need to.
Real quick, yeah.
Based on what you're saying, if what's your name, brother?
James.
If James was to say to you, but you don't understand what I'm saying. You're not hearing me. You're coming from a different place. It's not at all what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah.
That's where you bring, this is where we come in, the request.
Yeah.
Okay, I request that you be patient with me and help me understand more of where you're coming from.
But if you've stated something and it's totally misunderstood, and maybe it's something like she's saying going on within her, and
Yeah.
she's not hearing you, and you're telling her, it's not at all where I'm coming from.
It's a great point, but that's where we stop. That's where we stop in our communication in deep frustration and say, you know what, you don't understand me, and you give up.
But I'm
So
saying,
what
where
we're
do you go
saying
from
is
there?
You keep moving forward in the cycle. Then you come back into it. Because if you stop, you'll never have clarification. You'll just get stuck, and then you'll always be in disconnect. But if I keep pressing in and working through this system, eventually, remember, we're communicating to connect. All right? We're communicating to connect. I want to connect with you. I don't understand you right now. You don't say that, but you're hearing it. You can say that off the wheel. Don't use it in the wheel.
Sometimes you have to say, tell me in another way. Use other words. Give me a picture.
I request that you help me
Does
understand.
that make sense? Okay, so sometimes, you know, and again, it's not all and
You
all.
have to finish right now, so.
Okay.
Can I just say the expectations? Because I think sometimes we expect our spouse to tell us something a certain way.
Yes.
And how do you guys work through like not placing my expectations over my spouse, right? Like
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you this, and then I expect you to respond this way. And if I don't hear what I want to hear, I'm gonna be really upset.
Now, that statement, I would say, is outside of this wheel. Okay? When you stay in this wheel, that's why it's a script. Okay?
Yeah.
When we stay in this wheel, what it does, it gives you boundaries within those expectations. Okay? Because what you're doing is you got to be responsible for you. You're not taking on the responsibility of her. I'm not trying to make her think a certain way. I'm trying to communicate to her what's going on here so that she can connect with me here. And then when she communicates, I can connect with her there. Does that make sense?
So at some point, you guys, at some point, somebody or both of you have to be empathic. Yeah. Empathetic. At some point, somebody has to give grace. Right? Or both. Not meaning like you can go and treat me horribly.
No.
Meaning, I'm connecting with the emotion in you. Because maybe there was emotion in you. So I'm connecting with that and then being able to go, okay, now can we talk about boundaries? And after the wheel's done,
That's a
talk
whole
about
other
some healthy
conversation.
boundaries, right? So that there's other things. At the counseling appointment, wow, now we really kind of solidified it down to the fact that we both feel like maybe we need boundaries. Or we need it, right? So it's a tool to kind of get the communication together so that you can move forward.
Last question.
I was just gonna suggest for those that are more visual, like if you literally place the word court right in the middle of sensing request all that, put court, and you're going around and taking a layer, and taking a layer, and taking a layer, until you get to the court, like that's a good, like, really look at that, that's the best way to like.
That's
Yes.
great vision.
And if it's hard for you, if anybody here has a hard time with scripts and stuff, what you can do is, because this is what we always say, respect the script. You know, because some people are like, well, I don't like the script, or I don't want to stay with the script. What we did that was helpful to us is that I internalized, so that our mentors sat down with us and did this with us originally. So when I take the script out in my head, I take my mentors, Nancy and Ron, and they're with me. So I respect that, because I know they're with me. I internalize it. So if it helps you guys to internal James and I with you, when you take out the script, great. Or if you internalize, you can maybe a significant, pastor or somebody that you feel like if they were standing with you next to the communication wheel, then you would be like.
We did this. We did this with our mentors. They were with us in Colorado just a few weeks ago, and we had a situation that was at hand. And I'm going to close with this. I was feeling very overwhelmed. We have a big event that we do with 5 couples. We're overwhelmed. We did a lot of stuff. I started to shut down. Yeah, I'm an 8, guys. I feel my emotions. And all of a sudden, my personality, I started to shut down. And Terry says, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." I said, she goes, no, what's going on? I can tell her
I'm
something.
thinking, well, right in the middle of this, babe, you gotta tell me, you
Yeah, I
know?
said, nothing's wrong.
So that-
I'm lying through my teeth. Okay? I'm frustrated. I don't know how to communicate what was going on. I could kind of pinpoint it, but I really couldn't get to it inside. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And so my reaction was, nothing's wrong. And so all of a sudden, we paused, we went inside, and everyone's gone. Our mentors are with us, and they're just dear people in our lives. And we had our couples practicing their communication wheel, and they said, "Well, why don't you guys practice it too with us? And we want to hear about this situation." And I'm like, "Ah, I don't want to hear this." And so all of a sudden, Terry started, and once she did, I broke. Because what she said to me is that, "I see you, James." And she connected with the pressure that I was feeling. And all of a sudden she brought validation to it when she says, I think you said sad. And I thought,
Oh, no, this is what I said. I said, I see you. I'm thinking that something happened that upset you, because at this point, I didn't know. I just was like, we're moving on for now, we're moving on. And I said, I feel scared.
Scared, that's right.
Because see, before in the past, it would scare me that way. Again, I'm like.
The unknown, the
So I
unknown.
didn't like when he'd get tense like that, because that usually meant he would snap on me later, right? So that's that past.
And when she said scared, my heart was overwhelmed. Like,
You didn't, and
I
I
didn't
didn't even know
see
I
that.
felt scared until I said it. I said, I feel, and I'm thinking, like, what do I feel? I actually feel scared.
that's when I came back around and I said, Terry, I hear you. And I came down to my feelings, and that's when I said, and I feel sad. But the ending of, we went through it a few cycles, okay? By the time we were done, we're like, can we just hug?
Awesome.
It was like,
But we never really necessarily solved, like, I never knew what he was really upset at. Because at that point, we connected, and I didn't fragilize him enough to go and try to fix it. Like, whatever it was that he was dealing with, that frustrated him, I figured, he's an adult, he's a big boy, he puts his pants on every morning. If he wants to communicate with me what it was, he can.
it was good.
Or he can get with our mentors.
And
And
we-
then,
and we
but we
did.
were connected.
Yeah.
So we did later on that night, he goes, you know what, actually it was about da-da-da, and I went, oh man, yeah, we're connected. So before I'd be like, what is it? And what do I need to do? Who was it? I need to go talk to them. Right? And then
Yeah.
So it was like, all of a sudden.
It works the process. So can I just say, I know it's probably a bazillion questions, and we're around, but I would ask that you would just pause, let it digest a little bit, have conversation with each other. Because you can come to us and we can answer your questions, but it sure would be good for you guys to actually kind of wrestle with it together. Let this be something the two of you would be able to work and try to challenge at lunch today. Even do it with you one another. Hey, you know what? When you go to lunch, you're around a bunch of people, and you can't act like a crazy maniac. It's awesome. It's kind of tame. Not here, though. It's where you actually are able to practice. Hey, let's try that a couple times. Okay, and practice. You won't succeed at this unless you practice it. That's the bottom line. Okay.
Right.
Let's pray for you real quick. All right. Jesus, thank you for this day.